Hello, everyone. We're live. Welcome to today's meeting of the Cultural Vitality Committee, Wednesday, January 21st. First, we'll start with a land acknowledgement. I acknowledge with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and that the land on which we're gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, known as Boating. Boating is the home of Gardner River First Nation, Patchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Moving forward in our agenda, we're looking to elect committee positions. And so we will start with chair for the committee. At this time, we are, I believe that we're opening, excuse me, I'm fumbling with a bit. So nominations are open for the position of chair. If anybody would like to put their name forward at this time, this is the moment to do so, I believe, and then we'll need a mover and a seconder. Sean?
I'd like to nominate Donna.
Okay. And I would be looking for a seconder, please.
I'd second that.
Nyla, thank you. All right, so resolve that the nominations be open for the position of chair, the Cultural Vitality Committee, which is great, but I think that we've done that. Secondly, I just threw a hand of, I guess we'll do votes one more time just to make sure we cover this off.
I believe just for the general how this works in my experience, I think you have to call at least once or twice more times, looking at Sean as the rule guru.
Thank you.
For, so it's again a call, and then once 3 times you've done that, then if there are no further calls, then.
Excellent, thank you very much. So again, we'll call for position of chair. And a third time we'll call for the position of chair this time. Can we move to declare Donna Hilsinger the chair of the Cultural Vitality Committee? I need a mover, please, for this as well. Okay, Sean, and a seconder, please. And Dawn, thank you very much. So resolve that Donna Hilsinger was declared chair for the Cultural Vitality Committee for 2026. It's carried. Oh, so all in favor? Sorry, all in favor. Thank you, carried. Okay, thank you. I'm just making notes. All right. Okay, and now we're looking to open for the position of vice chair for the Cultural Vitality Committee. Can I have a mover to open for the election of the vice chair? Sean, thank you. And a seconder, Donna. Thank you. So resolve that the nominations be open for the position of vice chair for the Cultural Vitality Committee for 2026. Do we have any nominees on the floor?
I move to nominate Nyla Moss.
Okay, Nyla Moss. At this time, as it was a little bit sticky the last time, are there any other nominees available? And a third time, any nominees? Great, so I'd like a mover, please. So I think that we can take Donna as the mover here. And yep. And a seconder, please. And Dawn, thank you. So resolve that Nyla Moss was declared vice chair of the Cultural Vitality Committee for 2026. All in favor? And carried, thank you. All right, and then I think at this point I can turn the meeting over to Donna, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The third item on our agenda is declarations of pecuniary interest. Does anybody have anything to declare? Seeing none, we'll move on to today's adoption of the minutes and the agenda. So I do need someone to move and to second the adoption of the minutes from our last meeting. Thank you, Dawn, and thank you, Nyla. Any discussion on those minutes? Any additions, deletions, changes? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of those minutes? That is carried. Moving on to our agenda for today. Someone to move into second the agenda for today's meeting. Thank you, Nyla. Thank you, Sean. Any further discussion, additions, changes to today's agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of today's agenda? That is carried. Moving on to item 6, which is business arising. And the first item there, which Alicia is going to take us through, is the Cultural Forum for 2026 planning. Item 6.1.
Excellent. Oh, great. And I see that Anne has joined us here. I'm just making a note. Perfect. Okay, thank you. So with respect to the Cultural Forum, last year we hosted our first ever Cultural Forum at the Ermitanger Cleric National Historic Site. It was well received by the arts and culture community. I would like to do so again this year. I'm looking for some input and certainly some direction about what the focus should be this year. As reference point, we have a few different pieces that are ongoing, but I think it would be a good opportunity to have this conversation about public art on a larger scale. And I was hoping that we could be looking at maybe using the same site due to cost efficiency during the first week in March, if that worked with schedules. In particular, I've requested dates Wednesday, March 4th, Thursday, March 5th. And I'd like to avoid, I think, the second week, 'cause I think we're heading towards the March break at that point. I think the March break, actually, I looked this up at the ADSB calendar, at least I believe it's the third week, but things can be dicey for availability. But ultimately, I believe it was the last weekend in February last year that we hosted, but I felt that it conflicted with other programming.
Did the rest of you lose them?
Yeah, I can't see them either. They froze.
Hmm.
I might have blanked too.
Give me a second. I don't know if she's got her phone on. I'll text Ali.
I don't remember why, but there was a reason.
Oh, there we go. We're back.
We lost you guys.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. Okay.
You said second week, third week, it usually gets dicey, and from there, we lost you.
Okay, thank you for that. If you don't mind me just jumping back over, just to repeat what was indicated was that we'd like to keep to the first week of March if possible, because with planning and vacation and arts and culture calendar availability, there tends to be other programming throughout the month of March, as well as the end of February. So we're hoping to target that week. I've reached out to Irma Clerk for some dates. March 4th or March 5th, Wednesday or Thursday are available. And then moving forward, back to you, Donna.
So my question was, you did mention that you thought it would be an ideal time to gather input on the public and artists' ideas around public art. As you know, we are working on a public art plan. But was there a specific focus last year? That's what I just want you to remind us of.
Primarily last year, the focus was just regathering after COVID. The unofficial thing was that we were looking to gather and to connect with each other. More officially, what we presented upon was the update for what had been happening with the cultural plan, what had been brought forward to date, and what was still ongoing.
Okay. Thoughts from everyone, anyone about any particular types of focus around this year's event? Anyone with some thoughts? Sean?
I agree. I think it's opportune for us to use this as a means for getting input on the public art master plan. That's one of the areas where we've been where we've noted we wanted to get some where this would be really helpful to provide some momentum to that planning process, is getting some input. So I think that makes a lot of sense to, not that it would be the only thing that's discussed at the forum. I think, it serves a general function that doesn't have to always have a theme. But it makes sense for us to use it this way this year.
Thanks. Thoughts from anyone else? Is that Virginia? Do I see? I see a hand, but I can't. Okay.
Oh, I'm good. No, I think it's a good opportunity to do some public art master planning feedback. So I think that would be a great chance to engage a group of individuals to get some ideas. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so if we could, I think we're going to have to make sure we have that meeting coming up soon so that we can plan to see what we want to display, what kind of exact feedback we want to be getting at. So we'll have some work to get done in the meantime to prepare for that.
Thanks, Virginia. My head is going around. I didn't see anyone else. Did you?
I guess it wasn't so much because it wasn't tied into necessarily like this committee in the same way that what we've already discussed, but I was just thinking more in a global sense. What I think a lot of people will be facing in the arts community will be restricted funding, whether it's because of like sponsorships rolling back, maybe not, probably, or like government funding changing. I don't know if we would have like a contact, not necessarily an OHFC or something, but if it'd be valuable to bring someone else to complement, like, obviously, there's like the focus on the SU, but if we could have someone like leverage train someone who could speak to what other funding is there, maybe. You?
With permission, or I think with your support, we could reach out to the Ontario Arts Council. Our northern contact, who's in Thunder Bay, has been really, really great, actually, lots of for different reasons. But anyway, I wonder if she'd be willing to zoom in. I don't think they're permitting travel at this time, but that may have also changed since last time I spoke to her. So if that's something of value, it would be great to bring somebody else in to have that conversation and to provide guidance. As many of the people who apply in our community for ACAP are also recipients of Ontario Arts Council grants. Well, so.
One thing I was thinking about was, as well as more specifically about the public art plan, is it too much in one night or one event to also, we still do have to update the cultural plan itself, and whether that's this year or next year or whatever, but I don't want to let that fall off the radar. So, if there, just a suggestion, if there was an opportunity to get at a high level, those kind of comments, I think because we're so actively working on the public art plan and because, of the opportunity to suggest how those funds might be spent, I think we would want to, as you've already indicated, spend more time on that and getting that feedback, because it is a great opportunity for us to get that public feedback. But perhaps we could do it in a way that would leave a little bit of time to get feedback more in general, or even introduce a survey, or I don't know, something along those lines. Because we are now like a year past the end of the last cultural plan. So we're getting to the point where it's, it really definitely needs an update. Right? Are we, I don't know about that, but let's
do some, the conversation maybe
we
preliminary.
can think about how to pull that off.
Okay, yep, sounds good.
Any other ideas about programming for the cultural forum, which is currently planned for the first week of March, tentatively?
Something that was considered last year was inviting different groups to come and share some of the work they were doing in the new year, or I guess rather in the following year. And so I'm not sure if that's something we want to do again. We started to do that. The risk with that being that some people will go above and beyond to continue to share. And so I'm not sure if that's something that we want to do, or if we wanted to set a time limit, or if we wanted. Okay. And with a hard limit of 5 minutes maybe, or maybe
Or less even.
3 minutes even, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the elevator, here's what we're doing, right?
And we could probably send out that request to, again, we can invite the same people in the same groups that we invited in previous years, ask them to RSVP and let us know if they have anything to share, or if they've had any plans to have the conversation. And I would want to stay away from any AP requirements, because that can be a whole.
For sure. Nyla?
The only other thing I thought of, and I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly. I know we had those boards that we were writing comments on that were placed around. Were any of the boards asking about what they wanted to discuss in the future? I remember some were asking about, like, where did you get your
Like
funding?
parking
And,
lot ideas or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering if any of them, I can't remember in my memory, if any of them were like, what should you do more about? Because there might just be something on there. I remember a few, but they weren't exactly like that. They were more so like, how are you structured?
Yeah.
But there might have been
Good
some
point.
other ones.
I will review the notes and get back to you. In a moment, I cannot remember.
No, I didn't expect to remember, but I just thought like, that might have been one of them, like that it was about future
For sure.
forums.
Anything further on that particular item 6.1? If there's nothing, we're gonna move on to 6.2, which is the public art task force.
Okay,
Yeah,
looking at this point, we have a project happening with Sioux College as part of the 2026 curriculum from one of the graphic design classes. For anybody that's new to the committee, typically you appoint 2 members to review artwork with a series of other participants on the panel, and to review the artwork that is submitted by Sioux College students with a specific focus. We usually receive that at the end of the semester, which is April, so I don't see this being a possibility until May, but just to make sure that we're not getting lost in the shuffle of the coming months, we like to have those volunteers determined sooner rather than later. So with that in mind, it's, like I said, it's a pretty it's an easy process. I provide guidelines, and conversation. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We don't know how many pieces of art that we'll be reviewing, but it's somewhere typically between 10 and 15. And it usually culminates in, again, so reviewing the applications using a basic guideline, and criteria. That makes sense. And so we're just looking for those 2 volunteers today.
Is anyone interested in volunteering to be part of that? Dawn? Anyone else?
Sorry, can you share the timeline again, like when it would wrap up by?
Oh, yeah, so it's usually 1 meeting. And so I usually provide the materials about 2 weeks in advance of the meeting. And it's usually 10 to 15 pieces of review. There's a piece of artwork that's included, and then along some sort of description about what it's meant to entail, more or less, and maybe some information about biography of probably May.
Thanks, Nyla. Okay, so Dawn and Nyla will do that.
We do need a resolution for that.
Okay.
Sorry.
So can I have a mover and a seconder, on this, formation of the Public Art Task Force for, 2026? Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sunny. Thank you. So be it resolved that, Dawn Lalonde and Nyla Moss are, appointed to be the 2 members of the Public Art Task Force for Sioux College 2026. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. I realize now that I put my glasses on that I said it was an item in section 6, but we were really in section 5. So now we will move on to section 6. And we're at 6.1, which is the Public Art Master Plan update. And I'm going to ask Alicia to take the lead on this, please.
Great. So we had that meeting back in, October 30th, I believe was the last meeting date. Since then, and this is kind of, it's gonna mix some business here a little bit. We had the community committee on graffiti management shortly afterwards following that. Looking into the new year, we're now looking to plan another meeting for next week. So we have that on the books, but the agenda hasn't been released for that just yet. With that in mind, we also have an Algoma University co-op student in place. She has been fantastic, and she's been with us now through the getting settled and her setup to move forward and be supportive of this project. So it's things are in motion. So at this time, I just wanted to say that things are in motion and they're moving, and we have further plans for subsequent meetings. And so we should have more to share afterwards. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to field them. But more or less, it was just to let you know that it was ongoing at this point.
So to be clear, on the Public Art Master Plan side of things, there's we are working forward, and our next meeting for that is
I believe it.
noon on January 29th, which is myself, yourself, Sean, and I believe Nyla. Is that correct?
That's
Right. Okay. Looking forward to that. That's great. Okay. And then now moving on to the community committee on graffiti management. What do we need to review on that item?
At this time, I just want to provide a quick update about that as well. That group met on November 6th. There were some light action items that were provided as a result. We were looking for an artist to potentially lead some sessions with youth. We're connecting with the Youth Wellness Hub over on Dennis Street, I believe it is. And we're connecting with communications regarding outreach of the initiatives. At this time, as I say, it's we're meeting, I believe, the following week after.
I have in my calendar February 5th.
That's right. And that information will be forthcoming for the rest of the committee members as well. And so at this point in time, I believe that you read some action items from there about wanting to know about, we're having a moment here. It was about just taking stock of what's been done so far, and if we have a tracking system in place and all those pieces. So that's something that we'll be discussing further, I believe, at that next meeting. But ultimately, this kind of goes hand in hand with public art master planning and how we kind of view these things together. But that's, again, looking at this right now, we had a number of community partners step up during that meeting to talk about accessing the art gallery and ensuring that transportation and other barriers weren't issues moving forward. And so I think that we have some good places to go with this, but we'll have more of an update for that group moving forward as well. But again, it's just more of an update here for this group with no action items today.
Right. So just further to, because there was a lot of people in the room that day, very diverse group, from many different parts of the community. And I think if I'm remembering what you just referred to, yes, there was the outreach portion of it, but I think there was some conversation around, there was an effort, call it 10 years ago. I don't know if I have my dates right, but about 10 years ago to deal with, how graffiti is, I want to make sure I pick the right word here, is, I'm going to say managed, and what initiatives were, I seem to recall it wasn't completely clear, but the information is available to show what activities were undertaken then, what were the result of those activities, and then there's been quite a long period of time where activities, it would appear to me, based on the conversation that happened around the table, completely stopped. And so now we're in a position that we want to go back to what worked before, what was the successes of what worked before, what didn't work before, and then what is the goal in the hopes of what would be accomplished going forward. Is that how we?
That is such a beautiful summary. Thank
Well,
you. Thank you.
And I'm only saying that so that now if there were, I mean, it's difficult. I appreciate this, Sunny and Sean and Don and yourself. I appreciate that it's difficult to weigh into a conversation like that when you weren't there to hear the whole hour that happened. So I can understand that that's difficult. But I only said that only to say, I don't know if there's thoughts, or if any of you have thoughts about that, or if you could be thinking about it and be reading the minutes from these gatherings, and that's probably a really good place to start. Read what was, if you're interested, read what happened, and if you had any input that I, on behalf of this group, could bring forward to that meeting. I think that's what I'm asking. If there's something you see there that you want to comment on, or you want to make sure comes forward, tell me, so that I do and Alicia, we do and Virginia was there too. We do our jobs to bring this perspective to the discussion. Yeah.
And are those streamed, or are they task force and bigger streamed?
They're
Okay,
streamed.
so they'd be available.
Yes, you would be able, Alicia.
Just to support what you were saying, just as the general sentiments of the committee at the time were starting small and growing the project. Jude in particular, ordinance was going to review the enforcement bylaws from Kelowna in particular. We're looking for some best practices for property owners for a number of different reasons. There was the idea of an open house floated, but I wonder if this is something that would team up well with the public art master plan.
Oh, that's a good point.
And the concern was always budget as well. So as we look for budget for this and figure out how to implement this on a smaller scale this year and potentially grow this in future years, something to be cognizant of. That's everything.
Does anyone have any immediate thoughts on that without, I realize it's difficult when you weren't in the, Sean?
Yeah, I have complicated thoughts that I won't get into the details of them. It's at this point, but one of the things I would just caution when it comes to graffiti abatement programs is that there's a few elements at play, right? There are the things that I think we addressed quite successfully in the past, like having outlets for artistic expression, having those opportunities available to youth, mentorship opportunities, when people do not have those in situations where they can practice their art in ways that are both public and sanctioned and in those productive ways, then they'll seek outlets elsewhere, right? That's one element. The other element that contributes to graffiti proliferation is the fact that it's the attractiveness of a kind of oppositional culture. And what makes that attractive is people not feeling like they belong in the mainstream of that culture, of that community, right? And so anytime that, and that's easier identified than it is resolved. So any program that falls short of helping youth feel like they, or not necessarily just youth, right? Because I'm sure there's plenty of non-youth people who are engaged in graffiti. But anybody who's engaged in sort of illegal graffiti activity, they're going to continue to be engaged in it so long as they don't feel like they are reflected in that mainstream. And other solutions I think tend to be on the personal relationship side, right? Like somebody who would actively vandalize, a random person's store or house is not going to do that to somebody that they care about, right? So the personal relationships are also really important there. That's probably much taller of a task than the graffiti committee can tackle, but I just want everyone's expectations to be realistic.
Thanks, Sean. Maybe anyone else have a comment? Because I'm seeing none. What I'm going to suggest is perhaps just to help everyone, maybe you could share like the link to the minutes. I know we can all find them, and then just if you're interested, have a read through. And if you have any comments on anything you saw there or any ideas further thank you for sharing what you did, Sean. Those, all of those things were, reflected upon, but you said it in a different way. And not unsurprisingly. So just, I'm happy to hear from you what you're thinking and then carry those things forward when it's my turn to share at the next meeting. Okay? Anything? All right. Okay, moving on, new business. Anything new we have right now? Okay, seeing none. Any correspondence? Seeing none. Can I just ask a question? Let me go back to new business. Forgive me for not knowing this, but did the cultural vitality recommendations already go forward, or are they going at this next meeting?
Forgive me, they went forward.
Okay.
And actually they should be paid out before the end of this week.
Excellent. Okay. Okay.
So
Cool.
anybody who's receiving it will be receiving notification. Upon that, I will also be making sure that those who do not receive funding this year will also be notified.
Okay. Okay. Good. And just further to that, completely off the hop here, but I believe that you've been very willing to speak with unsuccessful applicants to help them, understand why their application didn't move forward or why it was scored the way that it did or whatever. And so just reminding people that we are there, you are there, you and or Virginia, but you and more certainly are there to give that advice so that, try again or. Okay. Our next meeting is February.
Sorry, it's the third Wednesday of February, technically, which I think is the 18th.
Yeah, I don't see it in the calendar.
It's not yet in the calendar.
Okay, so just make a note, please. And if you could do the calendar thing, that would be amazing.
Love to.
So our next meeting is 4:30 at this time. It is at 4:30 on Wednesday, February 18th. And if there's nothing further, I need a mover and a seconder to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, Nyla. Thank you, Sean. All in favor of adjournment. That is carried. Happy Wednesday.